Now,
on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
All fired up and ready to bring this baby home. It's the fourth hour. If you missed anything until now, please download our podcast. If you subscribe, you won't miss any of our show. You know, we begin at 5 in the morning, and if you can't be awake that early, and I get it. Listen, if I didn't have to, I wouldn't be. Join our team subscribing to the podcast so you don't miss a darn thing. Coming up in 30 minutes, Virginia Attorney General Jason Miyares. It's Larry O'Connor with Mercedes Schlapp. And right now, it's KT McFarland, former Deputy National Security Advisor to President Trump, author of her book about that time in the Trump White House, Revolution. KT, thank you for joining us.
Well, it's always an honor and a pleasure. And can I give a shout-out to Mercedes Schlapp and the role she played at CPAC? Because they just had an extraordinary summit meeting at Mar-a-Lago last weekend, and all the cabinet was there. They all spoke, some of the leading people involved in CPAC, and it was just flawlessly done. So brilliant, and brilliant to you for having the courage and perspicacity to see this through over the last decade.
Yeah, they are incredible, and they always do. We just lost our connection with Mercy, so she will chime in just a moment as she connects with us. KT, we're deeply concerned here, waking up this morning to learn that Russia has launched a long-range intercontinental ballistic missile at Ukraine. This, of course, an escalation after the Biden administration earlier this week gave permission for Ukraine to shoot weapons that they've obtained from the U.S. government deeper into Russian territory. It's extraordinary that all of this is happening here during this lame duck session of this presidency. What do you make of this? And why have we not heard some sort of joint statement between the Trump transition team and his national security apparatus and the Biden team? I mean, isn't it normal for this kind of military escalation to occur at this time, that they would send the message to the country and to the world that these two teams are on the same page?
Yeah, you're right. You're right to be really concerned. Number two, it is normally the case that transitions, one coming in, one going out, do talk to each other. But in the case of the Biden administration, and frankly in the Obama administration too, because I was co-chairman of the transition in 2016-17, they didn't share. I mean, they didn't say what they were going to. They didn't say they were going to impose sanctions, for example. And that launched the whole Russiagate investigation. So they're not telling the incoming administration, and yet they're going to hand the incoming administration potentially a wartime situation. Now, here's why it's so scary. The Biden administration, I don't know why they're doing this, why they've escalated to let Ukraine strike deep within Russian territory.
I would need to ask you, was there some kind of pressing military or security need that suddenly now, after, almost 3 years, Ukraine needed this permission?
Yeah. No, well, Ukraine's wanted the permission all along, but what's happened is the Biden administration, I don't know why they're doing it. Are they trying to screw it up so Trump can't negotiate a solution? Because the Biden people they've always said they don't want a solution. They told Zelensky he couldn't negotiate 2 years ago. I mean, is it because they want to punish Putin? Yeah, I get that. I want to punish Putin too. But to what end? And then maybe the forever war neocon party really wants to have a shooting fight. And here's why I'm really scared. Because the ambassador to Ukraine, U.S. ambassador to Ukraine, evacuated the embassy, told everybody to shelter in place, that there could be an attack coming, a retaliatory attack as Russia escalated, walking up this escalation ladder. What would happen if a Russian missile hit the American embassy, by mistake even, and Americans died? We would then be in a fighting war. And maybe that's what the Biden people want. Maybe their deepest dream is to have a war between the United States and Russia, because the Pentagon has war-gamed the Ukraine war for a long time, and they've said there's no way Ukraine wins. They lose slowly or more slowly. But the only way there's a possibility of Ukraine winning is if America joins the fight.
So Matt Whitaker was appointed, your fellow CPAC board member, appointed ambassador to NATO. What can we expect coming out of there? Because NATO would play a role in this as well.
All right, so the way the NATO alliance works, it's like the Three Musketeers, one for all for one. If the United States, if a NATO member, if a NATO member is attacked, all the other countries of NATO consult, and then they join in and defend that country. Ukraine is not a member of NATO. So NATO technically doesn't connect with this. But if NATO members are going to start dying in Ukraine, then it's walking up the escalation ladder. It's scary times. Not because anybody says, "Ooh, let's launch World War III." It's because you fall into it as you move up the escalation. I wrote my dissertation at MIT in the I don't want to say how long ago, in the late 70s, early 80s, and it was about escalation of the potential escalation from conventional conflicts into nuclear war. And that's where the worry is, that it somehow goes on autopilot as countries start escalating, and that's the fear I've got.
Well, listen, when I hear that you're expressing these fears, it makes me nervous, because you've got a handle on these things. And again, I just want to reiterate the extraordinary nature of all of these events occurring when this administration is supposed to be packing their boxes and getting out of town. Their policies and their successor, Kamala Harris, were just soundly rejected by the American people, and a brand new team and a brand new approach to foreign policy and national security was affirmed by the voters of this country. So I keep hearing about the norms and the grown-ups in this town wanting continuity, and where are they stepping up saying, stop, this is not how it's supposed to happen, because by the time Trump actually is sworn in, who knows how these events will cascade?
Well, it makes Donald Trump's task much more difficult to try to negotiate a solution. That's probably what they want.
That's the point, right?
Yeah. That's the whole point. Yeah, they want to screw it up. They want to bind Trump's actions, and particularly because Trump said, I'll negotiate a peace solution within 48 hours. I mean, Trump could do that, but it makes it very hard if Americans are dying. And look, just get it out of your mind that Joe Biden's making any of these decisions. He's not. It's the group the same
KT?
group that was.
Who is? Larry brought that up. It's who is pushing this?
It's the blob. It's the nameless, faceless bureaucrats.
Yeah.
It's the same people who worked in the Obama administration. They've just moved one rung higher in the Biden administration. I had a really chilling conversation about a month or so ago with a leading journalist, Democrat leading journalist, a guy I've known for 40 years. And I said, well, you guys can't possibly think that Kamala Harris is going to be capable of making these decisions. And after a pause, he said, well, she's not really familiar with these subjects, so she'll take the advice of the really good advisors she'll have around her. They'll be the same advisors who were around Biden. So I'm thinking, right, you guys don't even care who's president. President's a figurehead in your head. Presidents don't make the decisions. And that's one of the reasons they're terrified of Donald Trump, because he's going to make the decisions. He's not going to turn it over to nameless, faceless bureaucrats.
Finally, KT, the position of Director of National Intelligence, the designee for that position is Tulsi Gabbard, and there's been voices raised about her past positions on Russia, on Iran, on Bashar al-Assad, and Syria. Can you sort of give your perspective on those past positions that Tulsi Gabbard had, whether it's worth bringing up and whether it's even relevant for the position of Director of National Intelligence in terms of policy? How much policy does that position really affect? And do you have any concerns about her past positions?
No. I mean, look, I've been a friend of Tulsi Gabbard's and a big fan of Tulsi Gabbard's for a number of years. She understands who's the boss. The boss is Donald Trump. He's going to set the policy. And the previous statements that she's made, I've looked through them. I don't think they're that scary. The next thing is, what happens is when the Democrats can't win on policy, what do? They call you sexist, racist, fascist, pro-Russian stooge. They've got their go-to phrases for how they're going to assassinate somebody's character.
Yeah.
And to think that Tulsi Gabbard, who is one of the most courageous, principled people in politics today, first they tried to put her on a no-fly list. They were going to punish her for who knows what, I guess because she likes Republicans. And now that she is a Republican and a nominee, they just want to destroy her. And, the American people have spoken. Donald Trump's the president. He's putting together a really strong national security team who is not going to go along with business as usual, who wants to shake things up. And that's what the American people want. So get used to it, Washington.
KT McFarland, always great to talk with you. Mercedes, our connection was lost, but she gave glowing reviews to all of the work that you did down at Mar-a-Lago this last week and for the last 10 years of keeping.
Well, we're blessed to have KT as a leader in the CPAC board, and I hope she goes back into office,
Oh.
into the Trump administration. That would be great.
Is that something
It'd be
you
a
would like,
blessing.
Katie McFarland?
Jesus, everybody's got an opinion except me. And except
Okay,
Donald
sorry,
Trump.
Katie.
Let's just see how this carries out. But I'm very flattered. Thank you for that bit of advice. And I guess I'll get out the book and think about what I'd like to do next.
All right. We can't wait to hear. But just make sure you continue to join us every Thursday morning, please. That's my priority.
You got a date.
All
Okay.
right. It's 8:16. Ooh, finally. My dream come true. I got a date with Katie McFarland. My brother's going to be so jealous.